Western Australia welcomes the world, but these forests are not so friendly. Rally's elite are doing it tough. Hello, I'm Bill Woods. Welcome to Telstra Rally Australia for 1999. It's the second last round of 14 in the World Championship, and once again, the title is on the line. This is a delicious contest this weekend. Tommy Mäkinen gunning for his fourth consecutive World Championship. It always seems to be a close-run thing for him, but he gets there in the end. Didier Auriol, the Frenchman, has been defying him all year. It's been such a close battle. He's been dogged, he's been persistent. Barry Sheen, welcome to you. What a marvellous contest it'll be this weekend. It has been for the entire season.
Well, it's fantastic. The World Rally Championship now is so close, so competitive. It's so important to the manufacturers. It's great. I have to say, you know, the atmosphere at a rally is probably the best atmosphere of any motorsport. You know, it's back to the days of club bike racing or Formula Ford now. All the drivers are so friendly with each other, all the teams. You know, you come down at breakfast in the morning, they're all talking to one another. And I think that's what motorsport should all be about. You know, unlike the Formula One thing where they don't even talk to each other. But I really do. The first rally I'd ever been to was here 4 or 5 years ago, and I really like the rally scene now. I think it's great.
Interesting you mentioned Formula One, because this is the Formula One off-road. It's multi-million-dollar stuff, and these guys are among the best drivers, arguably, of any kind in any motorsport. John Smales will be our chief expert commentator this weekend. John, already we've seen a great battle. It'll unfold over the next 4 hours for you on Network 10, but Mäkinen, he loves to win here. He won here on the way to the World Championship last year and in 1996.
Yeah, he did indeed, Bill. This rally is very, very important to Tommy Mäkinen. He, for the last 2 years in the World Championship, has had to go right to the wire at Network Q Rally of Great Britain to win the championship by 1 point from Colin McRae in 1997, by 2 points last year from Carlos Sainz. He desperately wants to win here this weekend, so he doesn't have to go to Network Q with such tension in the air. This rally really suits both Tommy Mäkinen and the Mitsubishi Lancer. It's a Group A car, which is a little stronger than the World Rally cars, and therefore suited to this hard-packed surface. Also, it's got a longer wheelbase, which means that it puts its power to the ground a little more smoothly.
The Network Q was Formula the RAC, which is, of course, the final rally of the championship in Britain. Let's have a look at the championship points now, and we see that 6 separates Mäkinen from Auriol. They have drawn level a couple of times during the season, but Mäkinen's latest victory takes him a little bit further away from Auriol at the moment. There are many other chances in this particular rally, even though they cannot win the World Championship. One of those in particular is Carlos Sainz. I'll talk about him, but firstly a mention of Bugalski, Puras and Panizzi. They are drivers of the front-wheel drive Citroens. They have, in fact, Bugalski has won 2 World Rally rounds this year on the front-wheel drive Citroen, but they are not competing here this weekend. That's why they don't have a number on the World Championship round. But Carlos Sainz, John, big chance this weekend. Carlos
Sainz announced just before this rally started that he'd be moving to Ford next year. Now, he hasn't won a rally this year, and he desperately wants to go to Ford with a rally win under his belt. Toyota, of course, announcing their withdrawal from rallying next year so that they can go into Formula One.
He has a lot to prove, Barry.
Well, he does. You know, Sainz is one of the nicest blokes you could ever wish to meet. You know, it's quite funny with manufacturers. 10 years ago, they won here, Toyota with Kanken, and now this is their last, well, Australian visit as World Rally Championship team. But with the manufacturers, like, as an example, Peugeot are now talking about pulling out of Formula One. They've come into rally with a 206 for the first time this year, and Toyota are pulling out the rally to go into the Formula One. Yeah, Japanese logic for you there.
Seat's had a very strong debut this year. Hyundai is going to buy into the picture next year as well, so it looks healthy for the World Championship.
I think it's so important, you know, the World Rally Championship, because it's manufacturers, that's their bread and butter, and you can buy these cars and go out and drive them. As you know, you've been a fast driver yourself.
Oh, extremely, John.
Ultimately, it won't be of great concern, really, if Toyota pulls out as a world manufacturer in this, because there are some 7 other manufacturers now in the World Championship. Remember that Lancia was very strong at the beginning of the 1990s. Now they're out of it as well.
Well, points are a lot harder to come by than the flies out here in the Australian bush. Once again, we've had many fans here, and not all of them are human. But it's been a sensational rally already. As I said, full details coming up. But first, an explanation of how this thing works. You might be a little perturbed by what looks like a very complex thing in the World Rally Championship, but it isn't, I can assure you. 3 left. legs over 4 days, including 23 stages covering more than 1,400 kilometres, from the super special stage in the slick city centre to the Michelin TV stage at bumpy Bunnings. Staging areas, liaison, parc fermé, reconnaissance, scrutineering, shakedown, breakdown. At a glance, Telstra Rally Australia is all bustle and confusion with a language of its own. But anything more than a glance reveals it's very simple. Any rally, and this is no exception, is a series of timed runs over varied distances and locations. These runs are called stages. Add all the times together after a few days, and the driver who takes the least time to complete the event wins. It's a vast logistic problem for clerk of the course Gary Connolly in Rally Command Centre, but the result is a variety of exciting tests for drivers.
Even though they do reconnaissance and travel over the course 3 times beforehand, taking their pace notes, there's always the unexpected. There's the rock the other competitor has bumped onto the road, or an overhanging branch, or something that's a little bit unusual that's going to cause them to have a real problem.
This is the focal point of Telstra Rally Australia. It's the Langley Park Super Special Stage in the heart of Perth. It's short at only 2.2 kilometres, and it's a very tight figure-8 configuration, but it's fan-friendly, and that's the whole idea of it. It brings the World Championship to the heart of the city on 3 of the 4 days of competition, and it features 2 cars, unlike any other stage, so they're racing each other as well as the clock. This is where it all kicks off on Thursday night. After all the forest stages on Friday, they come back here again, and after all the forest stages on Saturday, back here for a 3rd time. It's a great concept that's been copied around the world, but not for 3 of the 4 days. After the appetite is whetted on the opening night at Langley Park, the drivers assemble on Friday in Perth. They drive out under normal road conditions to the town of York for 3 stages.
And that's where they do their racing. So they're timed over that to the 10th of a second, 1 car at a time. But after they finish that, they've got to get to the next special stage or back into their service park for repairs. So it's not like a circuit. If you have a problem, you've only got to do 1 lap and you're back in the pits. Here you could have to travel 50, 60 kilometres before you get to your mechanics.
The drivers are allowed to regroup with their teams for any running repairs after certain stages at designated staging areas. Then onto the next section for more racing against the clock. Day 1 features 11 stages, and the first leg is over. Saturday is leg 2. There are 7 stages around Harvey and Collie, which is southeast of Perth. One of these, the Wellington Dam stage, is 45.5 kilometres, the longest of the rally. The final day is leg 3. This will decide the rally and possibly the World Championship. 3 long stages take place around Bunnings, about 1.5 hours south of Perth. 22 down, 1 more to go. The climax of Telstra Rally Australia is the Michelin TV stage. Live on Network 10, a ferocious 2.73 kilometres of twisting, undulating, gravity-challenging gravel that defines what this event and this sport is all about. And with a number of World Championship rounds being decided by the odd second or 2, you may see Telstra Rally Australia won or lost right here. That's right, that brings us up to date here in Bunnings, south of Perth. And yes, Juha Kankinen won a rally this year by just 2.4 seconds. But I wanted to draw attention briefly before we go to the break about the mechanics. Gary Connolly mentioned those a few minutes ago, and they have done a marvellous job. They always do. A focal part of the rally, Barry. They're standing right behind us now for the Mitsubishi team. They set these tents up in the various staging areas in absolutely no time, and they suddenly have to become complex garages.
That's totally incredible. You know, these guys, they can change a gearbox in like 15 minutes and panel beat a car, change an axle. They can do in 15 minutes what it say my garage 3 days to do, and more to the point, you don't have to take it back to them and get them to do it properly, which I'm sure everybody can relate to.
There have been some marvellous stories of cars virtually being rebuilt in 10 or 15 minutes while drivers are waiting to go on to the next stage. Those are just some of the great stories we'll bring to you over the next few hours on Network 10. Stay with us after the break. More on the Telstra Rally Australia. Welcome back to Bunnings, south of Perth, Telstra, Rally Australia and the marvellous Mitsubishi team. They've done a mighty job this year keeping the cars on the road for Freddie Loix and Tommy Mackinnon. They're both still in the hunt for Telstra Rally Australia, still running, which is more than we can say for a lot of cars. It's been a very tough weekend. Details of that a little later as Loix tries to help Tommy Mackinnon win a championship. Loix hasn't won a stage all year, but he has 9 championship points. Mackinnon is going for the major prize. Let's take a closer look now at the great showdown he has had with Didier Auriol.
Defending world champion Tommy Mackinnon got off to a flying start in 1999. 2 decisive victories, extending his unbeaten run to 6. And for a while, the Finn looked like running away with the driver's title.
6 consecutive wins, and somehow we have to stop them. It's getting a little bit boring now.
With 4 victories and more stage wins than any other competitor to his name, Mackinnon has been the pace setter this year. But the consistency of Didier Auriol has kept the fight for the Drivers' Championship alive.
We are quite very happy, of course, to be still in the fight. I think it's a very important rally for me here.
Mackinnon secured his first title in Australia back in 1996, and since then the rally has been one of his favourite battlegrounds.
Yeah, it was even last year. It was very important because we just get ahead of Carlos here, and it's been very important and very good rally for me.
Auriol trails the defending champion by 6 points, but has not been discouraged by Mackinnon's excellent record in this country.
We have made some tests before the practice, and we are trying to find the best adjust for this event. Nothing really new, so just to try to get a good feeling.
Right, and of course Tommy has done very well here in the last few years. Are you concerned about that?
I have heard about that, yes. But every year is different.
Determined to wrap up the series here in Australia, Mackinnon arrived in the country earlier than usual in order to prepare for the event.
It's been many days testing. It was 1 week in UK. We did our 1 main gravel test in UK, and then here also 3 more days. And I did 1.5, and Freddie did 1.5, and car feels good, no problem.
It's been almost a decade since Auriol held the Drivers' Championship, and irrespective of this week's outcome, the Frenchman is pleased with his season.
I think we have done a very good season. Maybe we have some better results sometimes. We have some little problem, but that is a race. It's for everybody the same. We don't do quite a lot of mistakes for the moment. We have a very strong car, so it's why we are still in the fight.
With Team Toyota Europe about to disband at the end of the season, the reality for Auriol is that this may well be his last chance at taking rallying's most coveted prize, the World Rally Championship.
Yes, Auriol Mackinnon headlining the big show that comes here every year. In fact, this is the 12th year of Telstra Rally Australia. But of course, the Australians have a big contribution here as well. The National Championship is not on the line, but they do love to get involved, and the National Manufacturers Championship has points in this event. So we have a great involvement and a lot of excitement as people like Possum Bourne and Neil Bates, who are competing in the national title, bring World Rally cars, very competitive cars, into this contest, as well as Michael Guest, who's a part-time member of the World Rally Championship now, and hopefully full-time next year.
Of the 92 entries in Telstra Rally Australia, less than half are Australians. And at the top end of the field, there's just a handful of Aussies. You have to be good just to qualify. Prominent, of course, are Possum Bourne and Neil Bates. Both in contention for a top 10 finish, Possum, our most successful local, is on a mission.
Realistically, I think the top 10 is on. But you just don't know, you know, we all sorts of things come into rallying, and I think that's the great thing about it. Who knows what's going to happen? You know, you could lose half the field, and 5th would be a great result. Everybody could finish, and 10th would be an amazing result. So you just got to take it as it comes.
Neil Bates, on the other hand, has no such concerns. For him, the time has come finally to rip into it and to break his Rally Australia hoodoo.
I'm someone that's always said you make your own luck, but when I look at the bad luck I've had over the years, I hope that's not the case. But, you know, we'll have to push it to the absolute limit, not have any problems and have a very good, clean run, and then we've got a good opportunity of being in the top 10.
In the hard-fought production class, an Australian victory is on the cards. Michael Guest won it last year, and despite a wretched season, he's a big chance this weekend. But Ed Ordinsky is the man the money is on. 7 times a winner, everyone is asking Ed the secret of success.
The way to win Group N here is you go at the speed you think you can push the standard car and it'll still finish the event. And that's the bit that's a gamble. It's probably it's as much a gamble for me as it is for Cody, as it is for Gustavo Trellis. And the team that gets that critical combination right will win.
Earlier this year, Cody Crocker beat Ordinsky in the Australian Rally Championship in Perth. It was the best day of Cody's life.
Our win against him in the Forest Rally was a bit of a bonus for us, a real confidence boost, and hopefully that we can continue that here in this weekend.
Cody is on top of the world here, a national champion, and with his mum along for support, Cody quietly is out to show the top teams what he can do.
It's the ultimate goal, I guess, is to win Group N here, and against Gustavo and Hamid, they're really flying this year, and against them in New Zealand we did reasonably well, but they were streets in front of us, so we've got a bit to try and catch up to them, and hopefully, you know, if all goes well, I think we can be up there very close to the top, so hopefully we can do well.
Down in the Formula 2 pits, it's Father's Day. National F2 champion Simon Evans and teammate Jason Slott both have their dads along.
You used to race stock cars, but that's back to the FJs and that's it. They're a bit slower than this lot.
A brand new car then, I bet, Nick.
Simon has summed up the Formula 2 opposition, the Works Hyundais and the awesome Renaults from the British Championship. And typically, he's unfazed.
The British are sort of the kings of F2, and it's going to be a real challenge for us to get out there and match it with the best. Like, they're considered the best in the world, so we've got our opportunity now. Maybe our car's a bit old, but I'm going to give it everything I've got.
Simon's attitude is typical of so many of our Australian entrants. Rally Australia is the pinnacle not just of their year, but of their careers. It's a chance to climb a mountain.
It's the big prize. I've often said it's no different to a V8 supercar driver wanting to win the Bathurst 1000. You know, there is no higher prize.
Yes, they are the drivers who get the biggest cheers at the Langley Park Super Special stage when Telstra Rally Australia is brought to the heart of Perth and the biggest crowds of all. Let's take a look at this amazing figure-8 circuit that doubles back on itself. 2 cars on it at one time. It's very spectacular. And Lee Diffie was lucky enough to get a ride with Harry Rovanpera on the Langley Park Super Special stage. We understand that Harry was very concerned about having suspension problems on the passenger side of the car after putting Lee Diffie on board. But let's see how they went. Yes, it looks like we're starting to bring you reports of Telstra Rally Australia. We're starting the report there on the first actual competitive Langley Park Super Special stage. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have Lee's ride, we hope, but definitely we'll start to give you a rundown of what's happened so far in Telstra Rally Australia with that Langley Park Super Special stage. It all began there on Thursday. We'll be back. Welcome back to Bunnings and Telstra Rally Australia, where right behind me they're working feverishly on the car, the Mitsubishi of Belgian Freddie Loix. He, of course, is Tommy Mackinnon's teammate and hoping to take him to a World Championship this weekend. And obviously those shorts were a gift, no doubt about it. The rest are in fine uniform anyway. We're back now at Langley Park Super Special stage. In a moment we'll show you the competitive stage. It was very, very interesting and rough from the word go. You saw a sneak preview just before the commercial break, but let's take a ride now with lethal Lee Diffie.
One of the main criticisms of rallying is that it's often hard going for the fans to see the cars. But an innovation of the modern-day rally called the Super Special Stage has brought the cars to the people. Telstra Rally Australia's Super Special Stage is at Langley Park. It's a real hit with both drivers and fans. Sandwiched between the city high-rises and the shores of the Swan River, this 2.2-kilometre explosion zone showcases the enormous skill of World Rally's best.
It's going to be close. It's going to be so close. Here comes McRae. McRae's down. Yes.
Constructed by rally staff in the week of the event, Langley Park Circuit is one of the few times the competitors actually race side by side. That's one of the real highlights of the weekend. The flood-lit arena, the grandstands full of fans, the corporate guests, and of course the stars of the show make this something not to be missed. So much so, I just had to get into one of these 300 horsepower rockets.
Well, I've been in a V8 supercar with Wayne Gardner, on the back of a Ducati Superbike with Craig Connell, and I've been in far too many hire cars with Barry Sheen. But going for a ride in this Sayat World Rally car with Harry Rovanperä will be something else.
Sayat's Harry Rovanperä was the poor victim that had to chauffeur me around, and it was simply amazing.
Even electric windows, how about that?
Sitting alongside a World Rally driver felt like I was inside a Sega rally machine. But once the light turned green, there was nothing I'd ever experienced that compared with this. The acceleration is frightening, and the driver's level of commitment staggering. On 2 occasions throughout the run, the cars passed through a narrow break in the fence before heading onto the only tarmac section of the track. The speed, the darkness, and approaching it somewhat sideways makes that break in the fence look like a gap wide enough for a dog. Without even blinking, Rovanperä slices through it with ease. The braking forces virtually send you through the windscreen, and the gear changes are anything but elegant. From the outside, it all looks silky smooth, and it was. Even the jump.
That was just awesome, just incredible. The acceleration and the braking and just these guys' level of skill, you cannot explain it. It is just incredible. Was that a hard go, Harry? Was that a good run, or?
Yeah, I think so. His time is okay also. That is so good.
Were you happy? Was that a smooth run in your mind?
Yeah, yes, but always it's without page nose is a little bit more difficult, but anyway, I know that thing.
It was just perfect, absolutely brilliant.
And this gives you an idea on just how hard the team had to work on Harry's car after Lee Diffie had been in it. Terrible suspension problems. It was an absolute mess, but they managed to get it back on track. We're, of course, in front of the Mitsubishi garage still. And what a marvellous effort these guys have made to keep these cars on the road this weekend. Telstra Rally Australia is not noted too much for its attrition. It's not as severe on the cars in terms of the terrible roads that you see in the rallies in Kenya and in Greece, but it has been very tough this weekend, and we knew that after we saw the very first stage on Thursday night at Langley Park. Quite a surprise. Let's take a look.
As drivers prepared for the ever-popular Telstra Rally Australia curtain raiser, stunning news had spread that Carlos Sainz had been signed to Ford for 2000.
Yeah, it's really sad. We will try our best to give Toyota victory in the championship this year.
More than 10,000 people were on hand for the colourful one-on-one challenge, and they were not to be disappointed. Early in the evening, Atsushi Aikida strayed onto the wrong side of the circuit, creating an unprecedented yet novel situation for the drivers and a nightmare for officials. After pondering the dilemma at length, Aikida was penalised 3 minutes, while Mishiatsu Endo, the innocent victim of the debacle, was allowed a rerun coming up against Simon Evans. Disaster struck again.
Endo was denied a run earlier in the night when in fact...
Oh, there goes Simon Evans. Simon Evans over.
Evans over on turn 1, a section of the circuit that proved to be the downfall of many.
No sign of Sardo.
Stephen Shepherd is gone.
Both in the same class.
And he's gone. And he's gone.
Nishio's over.
Life would only be made more difficult as the surface deteriorated prior to the Group A competitors. Harry Rovanperä displayed early speed. His time of 1:36.5 set the pace, but was eventually beaten, leaving him 6th by night's end. The battle royales continue.
Do you like Langley Park?
Yeah, it's a very nice stage. I think it's very nice for the spectators, more for the spectators than for the drivers themselves. But this year they put some, I don't know, some slippery stuff on the road, and it's very slippery. So we have to watch out a little bit.
Loix and Bannister. Loix in the lead.
Bannister getting wide, and he's into the ditch. Saves it, back onto the track, but that's the end of this contest.
It's good fun. It's a good, safe venue, and it's a chance to race with each other.
Marvellous stuff. He's on the slower part of the circuit. He digs it in as he gets through the tunnel.
There he goes. Look for Richard Burns coming over the top. It's Colin McRae accelerating down.
Oh, this will be close.
It's going to be so close. Here comes McRae. McRae's done it. Yes, Colin McRae.
McRae's time of 1:35.5 would prove to be the best. After having announced his plans for 2000, Carlos Sainz's start was less than desirable. He was easily beaten by Juha Kankkunen.
Since Juha Kankkunen had taken a win in a World Rally Championship, Sainz is off.
Oh, and still off.
And still off. He's just tram-tracking around and can't get out of the ditch.
He wrestles the car back on.
He'll hate that.
Finally, the two men fighting out the World Championship went head-to-head.
On the inside is Didier Auriol in the Corolla. On the outside is 3 times world champion Tommi Mäkinen on Mitsubishi.
Well, Kankkunen was the legend. Mäkinen has now taken control of the World Championship. Auriol, who knows where he'll be in 2000. He's had the one World Championship under his belt. Very patient year from him. Mäkinen with more wins, but Auriol has been dogging him all the way.
And only 6 points separate them in this World Championship now. Mäkinen in the lead. If Mäkinen wins this year, he matches Kankkunen's 4 wins in the World Rally Championship. Up to the top now, Auriol over it.
He's on the faster part of the circuit first time round, so he needs to get a lead on Mäkinen. This will be great stuff. Mäkinen will have the jump to finish this thing off. Auriol's got to stay on the circuit. His teammate Sainz had a lot of problems doing that. Back out onto the tarmac now. Auriol's got to get away from Mäkinen, who's chasing hard. How big will the lead be? It needs to be big for Auriol to close this one out of the first of many stages.
Beautiful car control from Didier Auriol there. Didn't fling it off the tarmac onto the bitumen, held it neatly and got his power to the ground beautifully as he comes up now to the Qantas flyover and goes under as we look for the lights, the threatening lights of Tommi Mäkinen.
Oh,
Here
this will be close. Look,
it's going to be Mäkinen.
Oh.
It's going to be Mäkinen.
And he's swinging at Auriol.
Stop.
Oh, fitting for a World Championship battle.
Didier Auriol had to spin the car to save it from going into the ditch.
Auriol quicker than Mäkinen by 1/10 of a second, but not good enough to outgun McRae. When the field finally called it a day, it was McRae, Auriol and Mäkinen. But the real test would begin the following day in the forests 100 kilometres north of Perth.
Yes, and very soon we will take you to those forests in Perth or outside of Perth, and we'll take you back to the Langley Park Super Special Stage twice more. Don't forget, it concludes here on Network 10 this afternoon in a couple of hours from now with the live Michelin TV stage in the forests of Bunnings, not far from where I'm standing, and it could well be a World Championship again for Tommi Mäkinen. Once again, we're standing in front of the makeshift garage set up by the Mitsubishi team for Tommy and for his Belgian teammate Freddie Loix. Marvellous contest across many classes in the Telstra Rally Australia, but the two basic differences are the elite runners in the World Rally cars and purpose-built cars and the Group N production cars. They are the mainstay of any World Championship. There are plenty of them, and it's fiercely competitive.
The strongest field ever assembled in the Southern Hemisphere has greeted the starter for the 1999 Telstra Rally Australia. 91 teams from 14 countries have rallied through the forests of Western Australia in hope of securing victory. The serious contenders are sure to come from the factory teams.
Yes, for sure, because now it will be the 3rd time I will participate in this rally. And last year
I was quite happy with my result for the second time. We finished 6th and we did some good times. The only thing I hope this year I can do better.
It should be good. It's very stable in the fast stuff, and the roads here are very fast. The traction's very good, so it should be good, but we'll have to wait and see.
I'm used to the snow and ice, so it was like I expected, yes.
Defending world champion Tommy Mäkinen is one of 5 competitors to have tasted victory in the event. The Flying Finn claims it as his favourite.
It's really my favorite rally, and I like this country, these people here. It's a very nice place and nice weather, and well, I'm looking forward very much.
Mäkinen has taken overall honours on 2 occasions, but not without a fight from Colin McRae, another 2-time winner. Rising star Richard Burns has got off to a flying start 2 years running, but failed to sustain the pressure.
Yeah, just towards the end, for whatever reason, it didn't quite work out. But, I mean, it was still quite early days for me in the World Championship then, but now I've got nearly 2 full years under my belt. Obviously, experience is a lot more now.
Team Toyota drivers Carlos Sainz and Didier Auriol have been the most consistent performers this year, and for Auriol, victory is paramount to keep his championship hopes alive.
More important now is to win the title manufacturer for the team. It's the last season, so we need to push quite very hard. We have a very good opportunity for the moment, but still to race, and everything can happen in 2 race.
23 gruelling stages covering 1,400 kilometres of road, and 1999 Telstra Rally Australia promises to be the best in its 12-year history.
Well, we're about to find out more action after the break as we hit the forests for the first time in Telstra Rally Australia.
Hello, I'm Carlos Sainz from Spain. You are watching Rally of Australia in Channel 10.
Well, another frantic fix here in Telstra Rally Australia in front of the Subaru team. Richard Burns of Great Britain, his partner, co-driver Robert Reid, and he is gunning for his best result ever in Telstra Rally Australia. Previously, it was a 4th in 1997, won the Acropolis Rally this year, and is in an absorbing battle for 3rd in the World Championship with his Subaru teammate, Juha Kankkunen and Carlos Sainz. Let's have more action for you now as we continue our look at the forest stages in Telstra Rally Australia.
The continuation of Leg 1 led the field to the forests north of Perth, near the towns of York and Mundaring. Rally leader Colin McRae, guarding a 0.4 of a second margin over Didier Auriol, soon found himself 4 seconds behind after Auriol began the day in blistering form. Kankkunen edged out fellow Finn Harry Rovanpera by 0.1 of a second. World champion Tommy Mäkinen finished the stage equal 4th with McRae, despite experiencing minor gearbox problems.
We had some problem with, I think it's gearbox mounting broke and gears were jump out to the neutral.
Not bad, pretty good, but they were very short stages and not representative of the rest of the day.
Peugeot, making its Southern Hemisphere debut in Australia, was well served by #1 driver Francois Delacour, who came in 6th, just ahead of Englishman Richard Burns. Carlos Sainz blasted inside the top 10 with a magnificent drive and looked very determined. Neil Bates was the best Australian performer, coming in 13th, while Possum Bourne became the event's first casualty, forced to withdraw with a broken cam belt just 4 kilometres into the stage.
It's just that bit of an empty feeling. You feel sorry for the boys because, you know, they put a lot of their time and effort into the thing, and as we all do. And we've worked really hard, and it's just a shame, you know. But hey, that's sport. You've got to take the good with the bad.
Auriol went on to take the next 2 stages, sending a message to Mäkinen this would be a Herculean battle.
That's what I say. I must try very hard straight to push the pressure on Tommy. That is the plan.
Colin McRae was also on the attack, finishing 2nd fastest to the Toyota driver, while Mäkinen was also enjoying the long stages and making up valuable time. Stages 5 and 6 would claim several victims. Juha Kankkunen hit a rock and made an untimely exit.
caught a rock with the front wheel and damaged the suspension, but I don't know exactly how it happened. We haven't had a chance to talk to him directly yet.
So he's out of the rally?
Oh yeah, for sure he's out of the rally, yeah.
The day's drama was heightened when race leader and championship contender Didier Auriol left the road and hit a tree.
We don't know yet if we can start again. I am more afraid by the engine than by the body, because we drive without oil, and engine, it was difficult to start the engine.
The Team Toyota service crew worked desperately against the clock to get the vehicle mobile again. With their 20-minute limit well and truly up, Auriol and Duraday's plight was over. Their championship hopes seemingly in tatters. Carlos Sainz pledged to do all within his power to help his teammate.
He has to be still confident everything is possible in the championship until the end of this rally first, and then see what's happened. You never know.
Auriol's demise saw Colin McRae move into the lead, 6 seconds ahead of Tommy Mäkinen and 11 seconds ahead of Richard Burns. Carlos Sainz was well placed in 4th position, another second in arrears. So as the field moved to the Kevs stage, it was McRae, Mäkinen and Burns as the front runners. In Formula 2, former overall winner Kenneth Eriksson held a 25-second lead over Renault rival Martin Rowe, while in Group N, Hamed Al-Wahibi's hopes of dethroning world champion Gustavo Treyes disappeared following his withdrawal after stage 6.
The car just a bit jumped off the ruts, caught the loose and straight into the tree. Just a bit stupid, to be honest. I mean, it's a short stage. What am I doing going this quickly? But you only learn. You only learn. Experience is what I need.
Defending Australian Rally Group N champion Michael Guest's times improved as the day progressed. He was one of several Group N drivers separated by mere seconds. With 4 forest stages remaining, Telstra Rally Australia was proving to be an exciting event.
Yeah, very, very tough event too. The dust was a big, big complaint from the drivers early on. It was very, very busy out there, and the dust was going in all kinds of directions. It wasn't a given that it was going to clear in between cars. Let's have a look at the map now as we go through stages 7 to 10. Still on leg 1. It's still Friday, and that gives you an idea how far outside of Perth they go. Starting at York on the far right of your screen, but heading down for, look at numbers 7, 8, 9, and of course 10, getting a little closer to Perth at the end of the day. And of course, this is very, very taxing. They cover 1,400 kilometres on this rally, even though around 400 are actually timed. Let's go to the action again.
Midway through day 1, time for the long stages, and tyre choice was to be critical.
Well, like always in Australia, it's the most crucial factor here. Basically, we've had a good test. We've done all the durability and all the different options that we want to use. It hasn't been decided exactly at the moment what particular one Colin will do. But, you know, I think the main thing is at the moment he's obviously looking forward to the faster stages, which in theory should suit the car a little bit better. And obviously we'll see if we make the right choice, which is, you know, is very crucial.
At the top of the field, an amazing battle developed. Tommy Mäkinen had the lead by just 0.3 of a second from Colin McRae, with Richard Burns 1.5 seconds back in 3rd. And Carlos Sainz was ominous, another 1.1 seconds behind in 4th. The best rally drivers in the world were destroying stage records. In the service park, Mitsubishi team manager Andrew Cowan faced a dilemma. Surely he should slow down Mäkinen to ensure the world title.
You know, our plan from the start was that Tommy would just drive at a speed that he was comfortable with, and bearing in mind, though, he had to finish in a good position at the end of leg 1 so that he could choose a good position to run in leg 2. But certainly there's a bit of pressure off him now that Didier's out, but it still would be much safer for him ending this leg in a good position and choosing a good number where the roads are clean tomorrow.
Meantime, in the production class, the battle was red hot. 7 times winner Ed Ordinsky, the benchmark in Group N, could not believe the pace.
I don't know if you've seen the times, but it's been probably the closest battle at World Championship level in Group N
ever. You know, we entered barracking 8 cars separated by 8 seconds.
It couldn't last. On Kev's, Michael Guest was the first to go. His Subaru hit a huge rock, and Michael's hopes of a back-to-back Rally Australia victory were over.
It's just a tightening right-hand bend here, and you know, we weren't too fast into it, and we've just come round on the line, and there's a huge rock there, and whether it's been dislodged, and it was just sitting out on the line, and we've just clipped that, and it's sent the car over, and it's finished up, rolled over a couple of times, and ended up in the scrub here.
Asia Pacific Rally champion Katsu Taguchi rolled his Mitsubishi Lancer, losing 6 minutes, but was able to continue.
It's a very hard left turn. Is we come into right-hand side corner too fast to clip too much. Then we cannot come back to turn left. Then just roll over.
Then, on the ominously fast and tiringly long Flynn stage, 3 times world champion Gustavo Trellis crashed, ripping off a wheel. But as he sat stranded in the bush, he learned his title protagonist, Mohammed Al-Wahibi, was also out. Another crash. And Gustavo had become world champion for an unprecedented 4th time. 2 stages to go, just 34 kilometres, and it all came unstuck. On Helena, no fewer than 8 cars punctured their tyres. Forcing the pace like never before, Tommy Mackinnon was first to lose a tyre.
Very bad luck on Helena stage. We had, I don't understand, it was just 17 kilometers from the start. Was on the line, there was some little stone, and tire just blew up like it just broke like without moose inside at all.
Mackinnon lost 1 minute and 18 seconds limping in, but there was more trouble as well.
Now we have something wrong with transmission. The car doesn't work very well. But lucky it's not so. It's only 1 short stage and then long service.
Absolutely committed, Colin McRae also had a puncture. He dropped 50 seconds, and not even becoming the first driver to break the 3-minute barrier on Atkins could restore his good humour.
We've just dropped nearly a minute on the last stage with a puncture, so it's been a bad day.
Carlos Sainz was brilliant. He simply outdrove Richard Burns on Helena, taking a 4.5-second lead. Then he did it again on Atkins, 1.4 seconds up. He was in the lead in the rally as they left the forest on day 1.
I think Tommy and Colin, they hit 1 stone inside and broke the wheel. The moose didn't work. It was something like that. We hit as well a little bit, broke, but not so bad.
In Group N, the mighty Ordinsky was also deflated.
I punctured, you know, I don't know how, but with the rocks all over the road, anything was possible. So I was having a very big go on Helena to get Arai, and, you know, I paid the penalty 1 minute and 3/4.
The production lead went to Toshihiro Arai on Subaru, but Toshi knows that danger lies behind.
Edo knows every stage, and Edo is very strong, I think.
Uwe Nattel is second in the production class. Cody Crocker, despite a gearbox change and the inevitable puncture, is 4th. Ordinsky, 19 seconds behind, is in 5th. In Formula 2, a monster battle between Kenneth Eriksson, the Finn Lorcanen, and Martin Rowe from Great Britain. Eriksson, the day's leader, by 1 minute and 10 seconds.
You had to go flat out all the time, you know, and I have a bit of a lead now, but you can't relax.
And for Neil Bates, huge news. He and Coral Taylor came out of the forest in 9th place outright. An early engine misfire has been cured, and the team so far has broken its Perth jinx.
So Oriol out, but Mackinnon not only has to finish this rally, he has to be on the podium to make sure of that 4th consecutive World Championship. And Oriol's teammate Carlos Sainz declaring he will support Oriol to the hilt in this thing, still out there, still trying to stop that happening and keep the championship alive. We'll be back after the break.
Crest 80, crest in medium left, plus.
Telstra Rally Australia continues now. More action as we leave the forest once again and for the second time come back to the heart of Perth in front of a bumper crowd and a carnival atmosphere for the Langley Park Super Special Stage.
With another bulging crowd in for night 2 at Langley Park, they were prepared to sit anywhere. But the man in the box seat was Spain's Carlos Sainz. The former world champ is still chasing his first win this year, and after leading the previous 2 stages heading into the night's Super Special Stage, Carlos was enjoying that winning feeling, even if it meant pushing things.
To Rally Australia. Oh dear, nearly losing it there. That was oh so close. Not the first time today I've seen Carlos Sainz recover brilliantly after a big sideways near miss.
With teammate Didier Auriol out earlier in the day, Sainz was flying the Toyota flag alone and was too strong for reigning Telstra Rally Australia winner and world champion Tommy Mäkinen.
But it's Sainz. Sainz confirms his lead in Telstra Rally Australia.
Good run, no problem.
Yes, so far, especially the second half of the day, we changed after stage 5 a little bit the suspension, and I was much more comfortable afterwards.
But Tommy may have made life easy for Sainz. Somewhere along the way, Mäkinen sustained damage to his rear wing. His time, only 7th fastest.
I also hit the same stone. It was very sharp stone, and it was too much, too sharp, and the mousse didn't work because the tire was destroyed for them.
Subaru's Richard Burns was also experiencing a positive start to the rally, but would face a tough fight up against Thursday night's winner at Langley Park, Colin McRae. Both drivers had won 2 stages each in the first 10, so this would be a close one.
Let's see how far ahead McRae can get. He only has the jump to negotiate while Burns has to go underneath.
As expected, McRae's Ford Focus was too strong, and the win gave the Scot the 2nd fastest time of the stage and helped close the gap to Sainz and Burns, who are running 1-2 in the overall standings.
In this exciting 2.2, oh, digging it in there, Colin McRae, just getting that left rear over the side of the road.
Putting the power down now, and here comes Richard Burns.
Oh.
This is going to be so close. Colin McRae's going to do it. Yes!
1:36.44, quickest time so far this evening. Burns 3rd fastest overall.
Going into the tunnel there, it looked just like the back wheel almost went off the edge of the curve.
Yeah, but the engine stalled. They stalled it in the brakes, and then luckily it restarted again.
It's a bit more slippery than it was last night because we're on harder tyres, because we're on the same ones we've been doing the stages in the sunshine, obviously. So a lot more slippery than it was last night.
One of the highlights of the night was the strong performance by Australian rally ace Neil Bates. The triple national champ came into the Super Special Stage in 9th after a tremendous day's rallying. He wasn't about to change what he'd been doing all day.
Magnificent effort.
Oh, marvellous stuff. And after a couple of horrific years, it'd be great for Bates to top 10 in this event.
Bates' slick run saw him not only beat Mitsubishi's Kataoka by some 7/10ths of a second, but his time good enough for equal 5th with Ford gun Thomas Radstrom.
It has been a vintage classic day for Neil Bates today.
Marvellous performance here. Kataoka under the tunnel. Bates under the jump. Should take this. Has the quickest run to the line, Neil Bates, and he will do it. Good run from Neil Bates.
Good one, Neil. Quickest.
Yeah, quickest so far, but would have been better if they didn't put the sprinkler on just before we went.
What did it really make it slick? Because it seemed like...
Yeah, it was very slippery. Like, had way more grip last night. I was sitting on the start and they put the sprinklers on. I thought,
Oh, well, yeah, mind you, it's probably going to get slipperier as it goes on, though.
Yeah, if they put the sprinklers on, it'll get slipperier, but just depends whether they put them back on or not.
Tell me where the tap is.
Over there, go and turn it on.
OK, thanks, Neil.
They're not kidding when they say it's the best on earth in Perth. We take a look now at the standings after the Langley Park Super Special Stage, and Sainz is doing the best job he can of preserving Didier Auriol's chances in the World Championship. Beating McRae, Marcus Gronholm, good performance there. Richard Burns getting better all the time, and he's shown he's more mature and certainly more consistent in 1999 than he has been before. And Tommy Mäkinen back there battling away to try and nail this thing. It's always frustrated him that he's had to go to the last round of the World Championship to try and seal it. Looking further down the line there, Lee Diffie's driver, Harry Robben-Pera, doing exceptionally well. Harry has an exceptional pedigree. He's driving a World Rally car for the first time this year. Australia's Ed Ordinsky, very much the Supremo in Australian rallying, and of course Spencer Lowndes, the new generation of Australian rally stars. Well, we see 2 cars on the circuit for the Langley Park Super Special Stage. That is a rarity in the World Championship because really it's all about the driver and co-driver against the clock. John Smales explains.
Rallying is all about time, so it's curious that even now many rallies are started by primitive means. Not surprisingly, timekeeping disputes are prevalent. Telstra Rally Australia has set out to change all that. In this year's event, for the first time in the world, every start is now controlled by a modern light and beam apparatus. And more importantly, every finish now has an instant reporting system.
We're talking probably approximately about 7 to 10 seconds by the time the car goes through the flying finish before the results land in headquarters in the Sheraton. And we could be talking Wellington Dam, which is 200 kilometres away. And it's quite an achievement, I think.
The technology has been developed locally and it's destined for world adoption. There's a transponder fitted to each car and a receiver at trackside. The car is monitored at the start, the finish and throughout each stage. It seems simple after all Formula One does it, but consider the challenges of rallying.
The difficulty is rallying is so widespread. As I said, Wellington Dam is 200 kilometres away to the south. We've also got Muiresk, which is 100 kilometres to the east. Whereas Formula One, it's based in a one-location area, a far simpler plan.
For competitors, it's going to be a huge learning curve. Last year, remember, Tommy Mackinnon was seemingly caught out by the Langley Park lights, which were at that time on trial. He was alleged to have jumped the start by 4/100ths of a second, a gap imperceptible under the traditional system.
100 cars and a person manually pressing a button. There's going to be a slight discrepancy. Any human, the superhuman would still make a difference in the time when they press the button, when they conceivably see the car going across the track. With the beams, it's at the same time every time.
Tommy's team won its protest and went on to claim the World Championship. It's doubtful in the future, however, if there'll be any such margin for doubt.
Well, timing technology is important enough, but of course with Telstra back now as the sponsor of Rally Australia, communications are essential. In the very busy command centre for any rally, communication is everything. So Telstra are doing a pretty good job, and we have gone so far ahead with this thing, it's amazing. Alison Drower reports.
This is how we usually do Rally Australia, surrounded by enough paperwork to sacrifice the forest I happen to be standing in. The middle of nowhere. So how on earth do you keep tabs on what's happening in a World Championship rally? Well, we don't need any of this anymore because we have this, the Nokia communicator, and it's as simple as logging onto the internet. The biggest challenge in covering a rally is getting on top of what's happening on stage. The Nokia communicator allows rally head office to send you all sorts of information, stage conditions, driver comments, who's in, who's out, and the battery power of these things is amazing. It lasts up to 4 days before it needs recharging. So as soon as they do what they do best in there, we can access it out here. So Rally Australia, obviously not scared in keeping up with communication technology, and with Telstra on board, the possibilities are endless. I just wish this baby could actually tell me where the hell I am. But just hang on a tick for me, will you? Yeah, g'day, Carlos. How's it going? Good, yeah, I heard you're doing really good. Now, mate, you never listen to me, do you? I said right entry, 4 left, over crest, 5 left, 100.
Alison Drower, reporter and co-driver extraordinaire. After the break, more action from the co-drivers and drivers in Telstra Rally Australia.
I do your dance, I do your dance quick. Mama, come on, baby, tell me what's the word,
You are back at Bunnings in the forests of Western Australia as we build up to a climax in Telstra Rally Australia. The Michelin televised stage may well decide not only this rally but the World Championship. That mouth-watering action is still to come in the final hour of our telecast. But right now, well, motorsport around the world is undergoing a boom time at the moment, and the World Rally Championship no less. In fact, the number of World Rally cars, these purpose-built, incredibly fast machines, has doubled in 1999.
If the World Rally Championship wasn't already exciting enough, then this year it became even more intriguing, with 3 newcomers adding their efforts to the manufacturer's mix. Spain's Sayat made the step up from Formula 2 to WRC, along with French giant Peugeot. Now, although Ford were already an active participant in the series with their escorts, they were coming to play again this year, but this time it was with a new Focus, the Ford Focus.
It's been quite frustrating for everybody involved. I think the problems that we're experiencing of late are sort of the things that we expected to really get at the start of the year. But obviously the 2 victories at the start of the year were pretty special to the whole team.
I mean, it has been some good rallies, some rallies not so good, but I think that we have improved and we have progressed.
And for us, it's a year for learning in World Championship, and I think that we are trying to do the best in Rally Australia.
Ford has had a challenging year, to say the least, with their new Focus. Early strong results, including 2 wins, perhaps raised false hopes. But the message is clear from the Blue Oval boys. The results were a true indication of the car's potential. It's just the reliability of the Focus that's let them down.
The performance has always been there, which is the great thing from my point of view. I mean, but obviously the main thing is we have to get the reliability sorted for the big attack on the championship in 2000.
Well, the car's always been competitive. When you look at our times when the car's running well, it's quick and it's amongst the top 3 or quickest. So that's a good thing. We just need to sort the reliability out.
Of the 12 rallies this year, Ford's star recruitment, Colin McRae, has only scored points on 3 occasions. But it's with much determination, covered by a smile. The Ford camp say this is a long-term project and the year 2000 will be very different.
Okay, you won't see any changes, there'll be a lot of changes underneath. The biggest thing will just be being consistent. That's where we need to be now.
The attention-grabbing Peugeot 206s have raised plenty of interest in their first year in WRC. Competing in selected rallies this season, the French have always said this is a building process with the view to perform next year. But someone forgot to tell the drivers. Since debuting the cars at the Corsica Rally, Francois Delacour and Marcus Gronholm have led stages in every rally bar 2.
Yeah, it's a good sign for the future. It's also a very, very good team, you know, because Peugeot has a good experience, big experience in rally.
But we think you have a good progression for the car, for the team, and I think that we are ready for 2000.
The highlight of the season to date for Peugeot was in mid-October at the San Remo Rally, where the team's 3rd driver, Gilles Panizzi, came within 20 seconds of beating world champion and San Remo winner Tommy Mäkinen.
In San Remo, we have the 3 cars in the 1st, 2nd and 3rd place in the first leg. We are very happy, but we lose this race because we have not a lot of experiences of World Championship.
The team is so good and so... the car is so good, so competitive, so efficient.
Peugeot is perhaps better known in rallying for their colossal battles with arch rivals Audi in the mid-80s. But it hasn't taken long for the little French rockets to make people stand up and take a look at what they're doing now.
99 was a very, very good year for Peugeot, and for sure, he thinks about to win and to be world champion next year, but I repeat, it will be very, very difficult.
After 3 consecutive World Formula 2 rally titles, Sayat thought it time to take on the world's best in Group A. And just like Ford and Peugeot, it's been a trying year. But a bag of top 6 results and a 3rd to Tony Gardemeister in the Rally of New Zealand has kept them going.
The team is okay. I mean, they are progressing and they are happy, no?
Yes, it has been quite good. Actually, very good, much better than what I expect, because first year with 4-wheel cars and like this.
The Spanish team with the Finnish drivers has also made the long-term commitment to competing in WRC. But they say to take the next step up, they need a world champion level driver to steer their Cordobas to success.
Well said, next year we are trying to have one experienced driver, one world champion driver. We can have it, but it's not clear up to now. And we continue with one of the Finnish drivers for sure.
and then the project will be to be on the fight, on all the rallies, to be on the fight for the first position.
Certainly, with all that expansion in the World Rally Championship, it was against the run of play that Toyota announced this year that it would withdraw from Group A manufacturing support in the year 2000. They may well be back. It's only been a couple of years since they developed the very popular Corolla World Rally car. So we hope, as we say goodbye to Toyota, that it'll only be for a little while.
World Championship rallying is called Formula One in the Forest for very good reason. Nowhere else is technology so much on display, except perhaps in Formula One itself. And that's why Toyota has decided to change up a gear.
I would say it's the beginning of a new era. It's very sad that we will perhaps not be involved in rallying so much in the future, but I think life is changing for everybody, so it also needs to change for us, I guess.
Toyota will enter Formula One as early as 2002 with a chassis and engine both of its own design. To concentrate on its hugely ambitious project, it's pulling the pin on its rally program in just 4 weeks' time. The decision has not met with overwhelming acceptance.
I mean, it must be very hard for the spirit of the rally also. Toyota now, it's I don't know how many years they are in the World Championship, but it's a very important team, and it's really a factory team, and maybe it's the only team like that in the World Championship. So I think a lot of people miss a lot, I think, Toyota for the next year.
Suddenly, Didier Auriol and Carlos Sainz are both on the market. Announced this weekend, Carlos is to return to Ford. Do you think they've made the wrong decision?
No, I don't know. Just my impression is that the level of the championship is very good, but I'm not the person to criticize their decision.
Didier, well, the world's fastest Frenchman would look good in the sensational new Peugeot, but paradoxically, he's likely to go to Seat, the seat his speedy Spaniard teammate appears to have rejected.
Of course, I have quite a very good memory. I have maybe drive, I don't know, 6 or 7 years for Toyota, maybe more. So it's take a long time, and you have a feeling, you know everybody very well. And okay, now we must turn the page.
The path to Formula One was laid with the team's Le Mans 24-hour sports car project. More than 200 people worked on the 2-year effort at a cost, some say, in excess of $100 million each year. Second place this year was ample reward, but when Carlos Sainz ground to a halt just metres from victory in the 1998 World Rally title, a case was made for doing just one thing extremely well. Fittingly, it was 10 years ago this rally that Toyota scored its first World Championship victory. The car was a Celica GT4 and the driver was Juha Kankkunen. Since then, the team has won 4 world titles, 2 manufacturers' championships and 43 individual world championship rallies. And with just 2 events remaining, it leads this year's manufacturers' title, and Didier Auriol is in sight of victory in the drivers' championship. The world's most consistent team is still on a mission.
We're well motivated. I mean, we're desperate to win the championship. We'd love to help Didier be drivers' champion, and we'd love to win a couple of rallies.
Win or lose, the company will establish a customer rally division. Contestants in 25 national championships will continue to receive factory support, and that's good news for Australia's Neil Bates. 95% of the Toyota team will move to Formula One. Swapping dusty service parks for pristine pit roads is not likely to be a hardship, but there's a certain ethos in rallying which they'll all miss.
This morning at breakfast, teams from 5 different drivers sitting next to each other talking. I think in F1, even within the team, they don't talk to each other.
And all the best to Carlos and Didier in their new pursuits. In 2000, they are 2 of the most likeable drivers in the world. After the break, Telstra Rally Australia continues Saturday stages.
Hi, I'm Colin McRae in the bush, and you're watching Rally Australia on Channel 10.
Yeah.
welcome back. Great as it is, organisers of the World Rally Championship are always trying to make it better, safer, fairer. And one of the innovations in 1999 has begun right here in Telstra Rally Australia. One of Rally's obvious problems in recent times has been the running order of stages. Normally, the leading driver goes first, followed by second fastest, and so on through the field. But on some slippery surfaces, this can be a disadvantage, as the driver with first use strikes rocks and loose gravel, struggling for grip, and as more cars use the road, the loose stuff is swept away. Drivers further down the order can pick up valuable time on a harder surface. So, how to give the advantage back to the lead drivers? Well, for Telstra Rally Australia, it was decided to run the leading cars in reverse order for leg one. At the end of each leg, the top 12 drivers were then allowed to nominate their place in the top 17 of the running order. That way, an interesting element of strategy would be involved. It would also be fair. This concept was widely popular.
We have to wait and see. I think, yes, I think it's going to be a good thing. You are going to give to the faster driver a bonus, which it makes sense. And we have just to wait and see, but I'm in favor of that.
I think it's a good way. I mean, but I suppose all the drivers are agreed by these rules now.
On Friday's first stage at York, the problems became apparent. Slower cars were holding up the big names and leaving massive dust clouds which obscured their vision. But after leg one, when drivers were able to choose their positions, the slow runners didn't have such an impact. The order was more efficient, more exciting, and another bold step taken in the development of world rallying. And that bold step continued as we take another look at the stages in the forest on Saturday, Telstra Rally Australia.
After two Langley Park Super Special stages and a full day's rallying on Friday, Telstra Rally Australia was about to host more than just a pivotal second leg. Instead, it would be a disastrous day for some. The big names were continuing to fall, and none more spectacularly than Ford's Colin McRae.
To turn hairpin left.
McRae and co-driver Nicky Grist failed to finish the first stage of the day in what was one of the most frightening crashes either had ever experienced. Fortunately, both were able to walk away from the car. Amazingly, Grist, who took the full force of the impact, only suffered an injured knee. McRae was in shock, but obviously still thinking of his competitors.
Need to try and move the car back. Someone else will hit it.
The front right wheel was torn from the car after the Focus left the road, struck a tree, and left the pair sitting back in the middle of the track.
We knew the jump was there, but it just, the suspension compressed on the landing, and it just got crossed up the wrong way, and we just had to slide wide off the road and hit a tree very hard with the front end, spun us round, and so I believe, I mean, I can't really tell you after hitting the tree that was that, but it was a pretty major accident.
Although McRae and Grist were away from the car, the next concern was for the safety of the other drivers. And despite the Ford Focus being as pushed as far as possible, it was still on the road. Fortunately, the others saw it soon enough, but there were some anxious moments. Well, this is where Colin McRae's 1999 Telstra Rally Australia campaign has ended. He has come off that jump down the road, airborne and sideways at close to 200 kilometres an hour, lost control of the car, hit the gum tree and ricocheted in a full 360 and landed back out in the middle of the road. Ford's #1 pairing crashed out while in third outright and opened the door for Tommy Mäkinen to enter the top three and move closer to that fourth consecutive World Rally title. Mäkinen finished in that top three in the first four stages of the day. It was the usual Tommy consistency. But the two still setting the pace on day two, Toyota's Carlos Sainz and Subaru's Richard Burns. The Brit has never won in Australia, but certainly adapts to the West Australian roads exceptionally well. Three of the first four stages yesterday belonged to Burns and co-driver Robert Reid. In fact, by the end of Murray Pines, stage 12, the sole remaining factory Subaru driver held a 1.4 second lead over Sainz.
The thing was we took quite a good tyre for those two stages. We know that they're generally a bit cleaner than most of the other stages, so we took a tyre specifically for them, especially the first one, because Murray Pines is a very difficult stage. It's a very narrow clay surface and it's difficult to feel the level of grip. So we had the best tyre possible for that, and I think that worked.
Sainz was brutally fast Saturday morning and continued to carry Toyota